So our rabbis tell us, Chazal say, the month of Nisan is the Chodesh HaGeula. It's the month of redemption. As we know, as Chazal tell us, as our rabbis tell us, B'Nisan nigalu avotenu mimitzrayim, u'b'Nisan atidin lehigael. In Nisan, our fathers were redeemed from Mitzrayim and from Egypt, and in Nisan, our fathers will be once again, or we will be once again redeemed. It's an unbelievable change that's going to happen in this month of Nisan. It's the month of redemption. It's the month of Geula. Between now and the end of the month, the possibilities are endless of what can happen. Think of Mitzrayim and Egypt from the beginning of Nisan then until the end of Nisan in that first month as our emergence of a Jewish nation. The difference that occurred in our lives as a Jewish nation. That's what this month is about, and that's the potential of this month in the beginning of the year of months, in the beginning of the spring, in the beginning of our birthday as a Jewish nation. Ish uveito ba'u. Each man came with his household. What do you assume household means? Family. We know already, though, if you continue on the psukim, that all the descendants of Yaakov were 70 people. So we know already that Yaakov came with his children. The psukim later on tell us that they came with the children. So let's say the phrase ish uveito wasn't in that first pasuk. Is there any way that you would think otherwise? No. You would assume, of course, each man came with their household. That's why there's 70 people, and it says all the descendants of Yaakov. So if you look in the Chizkuni, that's source number 3 on your sheet. The Chizkuni has a little bit of a different understanding on what ish uveito ba'u means. And with this begins the secret of Geula, which is already put into the very first pasuk. Look at the Chizkuni, source number 3. Ish uveito, what do we mean ish in his house, each man in his household? Ish ve'ishto. Each man came with his wife. And that's the bait, the house, equals the wife. Each man came with his wife. Wouldn't we assume that? Especially since we also knew that from back in the story of Bereshit. But he's going to tell us something else. The Chizkuni. Kidichsiv, as it's written, Milvad Neshei B'nei Yaakov. We know already that Yaakov's children came with their wives. Lefi shehaya Yaakov yodea bahem b'Mitzrayim shehem shtufei zima. Yaakov knew that the people in Mitzrayim were really immoral. There was a lot of immorality going on in the land of Egypt. V'haya yarei, and he was afraid. Shema yilmadu banav mima'asehem. Perhaps his children would become so assimilated and integrated into the Egyptian society that they lose their own identity. And therefore, Hesiyam kodem sheyardu leMitzrayim. He married them off before they came to Mitzrayim. He made sure that each and every male person, child or adult, that was leaving the house of Canaan, their place in Canaan, in Eretz Yisrael, he made sure that they were all with a connected already to a wife, to a woman. And that he knew that if he was going to connect them from the beginning to a woman, that would ensure the success or the geula, the redemption from the gullus that they were now entering, from the exile that they were now entering. So what Yaakov understood as they were going down and beginning the galut, he was already planning. Yaakov was setting up the potential for geula. And what was the potential for geula that he was setting up? He made sure that the men were really well connected to a woman, because it was going to be the women who were going to get them out of this exile. And Chazal, our rabbis, tell us that it was, in fact, the women who got us out of this exile. B'zchut nashim tzidkaniot nigalu avotenu miMitzrayim. It was the merit of the righteous women who got us out, who caused us to be redeemed from the land of Egypt. So what Yaakov set up that potential, and in fact it was actualized by those women who were in Egypt. And we'll see this in action as we go through the book of Shemos. Lighting the candles on Friday night is the mitzvah of bringing shalom bayit, of peace, into the house. And who's in charge of bringing peace into the home? It's the mother. And therefore, we are sometimes called, as we see in the very beginning of the book, and we see here that we're referred to as the Beit Yaakov, we are called the house of Yaakov, because that's where we function and that's what we're really in charge of creating. The woman is the one who's in charge of creating the home with the feeling of Hashem is there with us. Vatirena hamiyaldot et Hashem, et Elokim, that we have the sense of presence of God in our home, to create a secure environment, that those who come into our home feel good about themselves and feel excited about themselves, and therefore are energized to do more for themselves and to grow in all ways spiritually and develop themselves. And what is a bayit ultimately? What is a home ultimately? It's a place where we feel, as we said before, we feel safe, we feel protected, we feel comfortable, we feel re-energized to grow. And a bayit doesn't only have to be an actual physical structure. A bayit is a person. A person can emit or exude a feeling of real security and commitment to God and the mitzvot and the future of the Jewish people just by being in your presence. So in the same way that a bayit offers a feeling of protection and a desire to grow and feel good about yourself, there are people who are walking houses in that sense, where when you're in their presence you just feel this desire and commitment to grow and be more and be better and be excited about the future.